Well, I guess I first got involved in the 70s, and at the beginning, my job was driving bus out in the parking lot. But the parking lot's what's now Expo Hill. And we would drive around in the mud, and I always think about the one couple. It rained one day, and this lady, she fell flat down on her back in the mud. And of course, how do you get up? You roll over. Well, now she was mud in the front, and she got up and she was laughing. But I helped her to her car and never thought anything more of it. And about noon the next day, here this same couple show up. They were from Grand Forks. She said, I got up this morning, and I said, Pa, the sun is shining. Let's go back to Rolog. And I always felt that was the attitude of people, you know. She didn't think that getting muddy was that bad a deal, you know, and we used to get muddy quite a bit, and we don't have much mud anymore. We've got a lot better roads and streets around here now than we had then. But that was my first start, was driving bus in the parking lot, and I enjoyed it because you talked to a lot of people, and you'd get their comments on the way in and the way out, and it was a fun way to get started. And eventually I was elected to the board of directors and became president in the 80s. But there were so many things that happened, and watching the growth. You know, at that time when I camped, I was parked on Main Street because that was only a campground. And I guess we camped about right where the ladies' building is now. That was our spot for camping, and things have really changed since then as we grew. And one of the things that it grew was I was president, and we bought the first land that's the east side where the horse area is. And we paid $1,000 an acre for that land. And you know, I got a little flack for that because there were people that said, boy, that's outrageous, $1,000. There's land selling for $300. And I said, you find some of that land, figure out how to move it down here, and we'll buy it. But so that would kind of always end the conversation about it, that you had to buy what was close by. And now we look back and say, what a buy that was. It developed the whole horse area, and that's just another whole facet of the show. You know, we were all, at the time I became president, we were pretty much confined to the trees. What's in the trees was the show. And you think now how it's spread out to Expo Hill, the sandbox, the horse area. It's really widened out to many facets that we didn't have before. And I remember we got the merry-go-round. That was then again we got a little flack for it because what are we turning this into, a circus? But you know, as time went on, we realized, hey, that's a pretty good deal. That we see that there's a lot of things for the kids to do. And of course, then we got the little train, and we added the train, and boy, then that added more, and it went on and on. That's the way. And I guess what Rolog has been is that all through the years I've been involved, there was always something new every year. You never, you know, people would come, and that's usually a common question. Well, what's new this year? And I think that's what's made our show grow, is because people come back because they know they're always going to see something new that they hadn't seen before. So that's a good feature. And I don't know, as far as different things that happen along the way, I just think more of how we've grown and what we've done to make it grow. And I was just down in the horse area and talking to the guys. I haven't been around that for quite a while, but that was myself and Earl Herbern's son, and now I gotta think of his name. But anyway, we were the ones kind of thought about the getting horses started here, and we knew we had to have a separate area because they didn't really mix well with the tractors and the steam engines. And so we did divide that off and decided this is going to be the horse area. Now next year we're going to feature the horses, so that'll be kind of interesting. But there again, the first year we had one team. Now I don't know what they have down there, about 20 teams down there now, and they'll probably have more than that next year. But that's growing a lot in that area. And then, of course, when we got the big Kentucky steam shovel, that just kind of made that sandbox area grow to beat everything. So all these things have happened over the years, and I've watched it grow. And you know, I think back at one of the annual meetings, a guy stood up and they read the list of all the people that had passed away in the past year, and he said, you know, what are we going to do? All the old timers are dying. Who's going to keep this show going? And I said, maybe the most prophetic thing I ever said was, I said, no, we're always growing a new crop. And I looked at him and I said, you know, one day you and I will be the old timers, and that's where we are right now. See, we are the old timers. And then I was a young whippersnapper, you know, trying to get things going. So that's it. And I just enjoy watching things progress and watching the young people come in and take hold, because that's what'll keep our show going. But the times and how things changed, you know. I'll go back to when I drove a bus in the parking lot. We had a guy down by the gate, which was by the Eat Shack. I'd come with a bus load, he'd open the gate, and I'd drive up to the admin building, which was the Hitterdal Depot, and let the people off. And I'd go around and he'd let me out again. I'd go get another bus load. And the unique thing about it, we kept a ticket seller on the bus. So while we were driving in, they'd sold everybody their ticket, and we'd let them off. And same thing in the evening, why we'd park up at Hitterdal Depot, and we got a bus load full, we'd take them back out in the parking lot. So it was quite different, and we thought we had big crowds, but if you look at Saturday this year compared to then, you know, we had, I don't know, 3 times as many, I'm sure, and we spread them over such a large area, where then we had to concentrate them in the trees, and then it seemed extremely large then. But now you see the big crowd in the trees, and then you go out to the sandbox and you go down to the horse area and realize there's just as big crowds out there. So yeah, that's a lot of changes, and change is what we have to have, because otherwise we get stagnant, and well, I've seen that before. I need no need to come back. I talked to a person today, have you been here before? Oh yeah, it was about 10 years ago, but I don't know my way around anymore, you know. And they were surprised, you know. They kind of thought, well, I'd seen it all 10 years ago, and now it's doubled, tripled in what there is to see. So there's always something new here, and that just keeps me young. And I'm glad now with my son as being president, and my 2 grandsons very much involved. So my family has been in pretty deep. And my daughter's a school marm over in the schoolhouse, and for a number of years my wife was secretary, and at the time, why, that was when they were talking about what do we do with these nursing home buses that come in. They come in, and this would be back in the late 80s. You just can't handle them during the show, and she spoke up and said we should have a special day for it. And then they said, well, can you organize that? So since the 80s until 2 years ago, why, she ran Nursing Home Day. And now she finally turned it over to Paul and Shirley Rusted, great people, to take it over. And I think it's a real deal to let these people come back and relive their early life, you know. Yeah, they see these things, and I was toured the bus with one of the buses. The funny part was I was the oldest one of the bunch, but I'm just fortunate to have good health, so I keep going as long as my health stays the way it is. But anyway, they just enjoy, and they see things that say, oh, I had something like that, you know, and it just brings back a lot of memories. Got a couple of the more ambulatory ladies on horses on the merry-go-round, and they just had a ball. They said, oh, I haven't had this much fun in 40 years. So that's been a big thing. That Nursing Home Day has been a great thing for people, and and they keep coming every year from all different places. But 15 homes this year brought loads. I think about 250 people. So that gets to be a big thing, and I always kid my wife about that because she suggested it, and there she was for, well, from I think it was 89 until until 22 that she was in charge of it. But she enjoyed it, but now she's crippled with arthritis, so it was getting difficult for her. Found a good people to pass it on to, and they're young enough to go many more years. So I think that's the future of the show, is that we keep the young people going. You know, it isn't something that's going to die out real quick. And I guess as long as we have caramel rolls, why everybody comes. I've never ceased it. I said I love them, but I can't stand in line that long for one. Oh yeah, but and now I got my grandson running the sawmill, which I was involved with after Earl left. I think that's why we call it Earl's Mill. It was Earl Herbertson that was the originator of it, and I took it over from him, and then I turned it over to Roger, and then Roger's turned it over to his son Adam, and now he's got a whole bunch of young guys working down there, and that's great. So yeah, well, they're finishing up another year, sawed over 7,000 board feet this year, and so now we'll have to finish another building and probably have enough so there's another building that can be proposed. You know, every year somebody's proposing something new, and that's great. But outside of that, why, you know, it's just been it's kind of been my life. I always told people, you know, what do you do? And oh, I love to golf. And they say, I don't understand why you go down there and don't get paid for it. And then I look at them and I said, who pays for your golf? You know, if you like golf, so be it. I like working down here with the building and so forth. So that's my hobby, you know, and I really enjoy that, and maybe when I'm gone, why, I'll realize I left a mark on some of these buildings, which unless you become an outstanding pro, you don't leave any mark playing golf. So, and the same with fishing. I used to have a cabin out at the lake, and I said I didn't like to swim or I didn't like to fish, and so we finally sold the cabin and put a trailer house down here, and that's kind of been our summer, is to stay down here rather than go to the lake. So our family's been very much involved, and we'll continue. I'll continue as long as I can, and I know that my son and daughter and the kids will keep on going too. But it's been a good run, that's for sure, and we've had met a lot of friends. You know, it took me a few years to catch on why it was called a reunion, but now I really know why it's a reunion, because my goodness, every year you come back and you see people you haven't seen since last year, or maybe they hadn't been there for 2 or 3 years, and I know way more people down here than I know at home. You know, it's just a bigger community. So it's a great opportunity to enjoy life, I guess.